Yesterday morning, I read the terrible news. I went on Wikipedia, a list of deaths in 2025, and I was shocked that Pope Francis is no longer with us. I still remember when he became Pope. I believe Mom was in Florida at the time, and I was watching the trailer for her in Downsville. And, this guy's legacy is going to be complex. I think my mother included, just so many Catholics have stopped going to church and stopped being as devout just because of how liberal, they perceive Pope Francis to be. And what's funny about it, or sad, however you look at it, is he's not really doing anything different than he didn't do anything different than Pope Benedict the 16th or John Paul II. He was very concerned for the poor and helping the poor, and he said a few things about basically being nice to homosexuals, and even though he made it clear that he wouldn't bless same-sex unions or whatever, but that was too much. It just he became the Barack Obama of the Catholic Church, and that's horrible because he was a fantastic pope, and he took over during a time. I think this needs to be said. Most people believe that Pope Benedict the 16th stepped down because he just didn't want to deal with the sex abuse scandal anymore. And, that may or may not be true, but, just the Catholic Church at that time had a real bad reputation just because of, that whole scandal. And, I think a lot of people perceive Pope Francis as being an outsider. He was the first pope from the Southern Hemisphere, the first pope outside of, born outside of Italy since 1903, I think Wikipedia said. I think the last non-Italian or non-European pope, was in 1903. I may be wrong about that, but but he was definitely outside that European sphere, and they perceived that they needed an outsider who wasn't tainted by all of these sex abuse scandals, and they got him. It just George Belagos, I forget the pronunciation, sorry, but he became a priest in 1969 or 1968, I believe, and he rose to become a cardinal of Buenos Aires in Argentina, and he became pope in 2013. So I think he did a great job as pope, and he steered the Catholic Church in the right direction. Now whoever picks it up from here, just they have to continue his legacy as much as many of the other great popes in history. So I remember when Pope John Paul II died, and he had Parkinson's and maybe a few other diseases, but I know he had Parkinson's, and he was in real bad shape by the time of his death. And about a week before he died, it was in the news that he was offered the chance to resign so he could just focus on his health and make the best of it. And he said words along the lines of when I became pope, it was for life, and I will serve God for as long as I'm alive, or some words to that effect. I used to know it by heart, but and he did it. He died a week later, but so he set the bar pretty high. And when Pope Benedict the 16th chose to step down, he really looked bad in comparison, I think. And So I'm saying that Pope Francis, he served to the end of his life, and I think he restored a little bit of dignity to the office of the Pope. So Pope Francis is in heaven now. I'm sure of it. And I just wanted to say thank you, and I'd love to visit the Vatican one day. And I'm sad he couldn't be Pope when it happened, but he did a great job. God bless you, Pope Francis.